Happy St. George Floyd Day. More than 100,000 young Americans have died of drug ODs in the last 12 months. You don't know their names. You never will. Nobody cares about them. But today we're reminded once again to celebrate the life of a violent convicted felon drug addict called George Floyd, who died 2 years ago today in police custody. All deaths are sad, but why this sadder than most? They never explained that, but Joe Biden did mark the occasion with an executive order promoting something called police accountability. The order mandates more restrictive use of force rules for federal law enforcement. Before he signed the order, Biden explained it was necessary because black people in this country are all terrified knowing that the police could kill them at any time.
Why this nation? Why so many black Americans wake up knowing they could lose their life in the course of just living their life today? Simply jogging, shopping, sleeping at home.
Because if there's one person in America who speaks for the deep concerns of black people, it would, needless to say, be Joe Biden. He definitely has got his finger on the pulse. What does this mean, though? What are the public policy implications for you of what Biden just did? Well, no one knows more about the subject than Heather McDonald. She's a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, author of The Diversity Delusion. We're always grateful to have her. Heather McDonald, thanks so much for coming on. What will this do?
Thank you. Well, the problem with this executive order, Tucker, is the narrative that it represents rather than the policy details, which apply only to federal law enforcement and are limited in scope. But the narrative of this executive order is that we have a police racism and a police violence problem in the country. Biden takes every opportunity to reinforce that idea, and the results are in, and they are unequivocal. Thousands more black lives lost and cities succumbing to predation and anarchy. After the George Floyd riots of 2020, homicides rose 29%. That's the largest annual increase in history. And youth homicide rose an astounding 47%. The victims, overwhelmingly black. 24 blacks are killed every day in this country. That's more than all white and Hispanic homicide victims combined. They're not being killed by the police. They're not being killed by whites. They're being killed by other blacks. The police are not the problem in the black community. Criminals are. The police shot 6 allegedly unarmed blacks in 2021. Compare that to the 10,000 blacks who were killed by criminals. In fact, a police officer is 400 times as likely to be killed by a black as an unarmed black is to be killed by a police officer. George Floyd's death was sickening, but it wasn't a pattern. It doesn't represent the way most blacks die. And if Biden really cared about black lives, he would call for law and order and stop demonizing the cops.
I wonder how long they can. I mean, this is all about the upcoming midterm elections and get out the vote and all that stuff. But what he said is so patronizing and disconnected from reality. Does it still work?
I think it does. There's still people who absolutely do not want to confront the problem in the inner city, which is the breakdown of the family, the breakdown of norms, and want to keep demonizing police officers, even though the crime is now spreading across the country. The carjackings are happening, these absolutely insane drive-by shootings that are mowing down kids. There seems to be an endless appetite for a phony narrative that only produces anarchy and predation.
Anarchy is exactly right. Heather McDonald, always with the facts. Great to see you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Tucker.